Your question is whether the script influences out reading, reading acquisition, and spelling. A very valid and a pertinent question, especially at this point of time when the RPWD Act has recognized out specific learning disability as a disability criteria. That means there will be a group of children having challenges in reading and spelling who would be given a disability certificate, based upon which they will be getting in a number of privileges and benefits. So we should be understanding out the nitty-gritties of reading and spelling acquisition and what happens out in the mind of a person with specific learning disabilities, so that we can remediate it. That's the first reason. The second reason is that there is a national policy on education, and the national policy on education would be insisting that the primary education at least should be provided out in the native language. So providing out or imparting out education in the native language, does it facilitate in some way? Is it easier to learn out the native language? Because language is the medium in which certain concepts are given. So is it easier to read and spell in the native language as compared to English, which is being used out? Second reason. The third reason is there are many people who have been claiming out when there is a requirement for man-machine communication. So whatever I am saying has to be decoded into the script. So I keep saying and it's written out. So in this man-machine communication, are there any specific languages which are easier to be recognized by the computer? Many times you must have heard that Sanskrit is the best language for the purpose of communicating with machines, and the computer language or the computer is best suited for recognizing out Sanskrit, or Sanskrit is the best language to be used with computer. So these three reasons, we can talk about it. But to understand out what happens in the mind of a person when a particular word or a particular sentence is to be read out or is to be spelled out, there have been a number of theories which have been put forth. It starts out from the Bradley and Hitch model in the 1970s and comes down to the Justin Carpenter 1992 model, demand and capacity model. There are a number of models which have come in. The Firth model in 1991-92. These are important. The dual root hypothesis. Multiple models have been put forth. The recent one, which has been evolving since the year 2008 and has been done by Ronberg et al., is the 2013 model known as the ease of language understanding model, where they say these are the working memory things which keep happening out the moment a child is to read or spell. Now this is what happened. I'll take a Vaideshik example. I'll take the example of a word, of a Vaideshik word, that is bread, let us say, to understand. These are the words which have been foreign in nature, but they have been accommodated in the native languages. In Hindi, English, the word bread has been accommodated. The moment I ask to write down the spelling of the word bread by the ease of language understanding model, immediately the word goes into the person's brain through the ears or through the eyes, script or sound, and the person's brain, which has a particular area known as a ramfo, somewhere in the junction of the temporal and the frontal lobe, that particular ramfo area starts filtering out the word to find out the syllables in it. So the first work is to identify out syllables in it. So the word bread would be broken down into its syllables. Now if I have to write the spelling of the word bread in Hindi, what happens? Based upon the training which I have, based upon the aksharas which I have read out and the pronunciations which are corresponding to it, I immediately start hearing the word bread, bread. So for bread, I say okay, fine, it will be ba and r, a, bre. So I clearly write down this particular grapheme, which is bre. And then the next is da. For da, I have a clear cut akshara which is there, and that is da. So I take up and write down da. So these are the two syllables, and these syllables have clear cut 1-to-1 graphemic representations. So bread and two syllables, two graphemes, no confusion in pronunciation. But the moment you say this in English, then it has to be broken down into syllable. Now bread is a single syllable acoustically. If you hear it, it is single syllable. Now for that single syllable, which are the different alphabets in English which correspond to it? There are multiple alphabets. These multiple alphabets, example, in English it will be bread. So okay, it will start with bread, B-R-D, B-R-E-D, or B-R-A-D. No, it will be Brad. No, B-R-E-A-D. So there lies a confusion regarding identifying out a set of alphabets which correspond to the different sound units. There lies a confusion because we do not know whether the alphabet which is being written down is pronounced out that way in that particular word, because we have 26 number of alphabets corresponding to 40 phonemes of English which can be pronounced in 1028 different number of ways. So straightforward, no, 26 alphabets, some 40 plus phonemes. That means one alphabet is representing out more than one phoneme or more than one sound unit of the language. That furthermore changes out in different word contexts. 1028 means 26 to 1028. So how much of guesswork, how much of memory load is there? So this way, if you see, the Ramfo finds it difficult to filter out syllables. Even if filters out some syllables, the corresponding graphemes, alphabets in case of English, are difficult to be identified out because the pronunciation is not consistent. Because of that, the chances that a spelling would be spelled out correct are less in English. For example, Ono Mutrur is the word in Tamil for disabled person. The moment you hear the word Ono Mutrur, it's a new word for many of you. So in Hindi, O. So you break it out. O. No. No. Mutrur. Mu. Mu. Tr. True. Ra. So clear cut. Ono Mutrur. So if you identify the syllables, O, we have a grapheme. No, we have a grapheme. Mu, we have a grapheme. True, we have a grapheme. And R, we have a grapheme. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 syllables and clear-cut graphemes for them. So it will not be difficult to write down the spelling. But for English, you try all 5 of you. 5 of you will write 5 different spellings because of the lack of transparency of the script. And the hypothesis which accounts for it is known as orthographic depth hypothesis. So because of this orthographic depth hypothesis, the prediction is that, the prediction what? It has been found out in research that for many of the languages, learning out English is approximately 4 to 6 times much more difficult as compared to many other languages. Furthermore, there will be errors because of this poor consistency in written alphabets, words, and the pronunciation which is done. So the working memory demands would be easier for any Indian language as compared to English. The interesting part of it is that this particular script, based upon which most of the Indian languages are there, the Devanagari script, we have vowels first, then this ka, cha, ta, ta, pa arrangement, it's of Devanagari. This Devanagari script was discovered out by Panini. Now Panini is a person who is AD. He was somewhere in this particular AD, and after Ashoka. So Panini was a person who was born out to a Brahmin family in the present day Pakistan. So they were people who were scholars. So when he was 7, 8 years old, his father was trying to teach him how to read and write properly and spell out things correctly without errors. But he used to do errors, so he was very worried. So one fine day, an astrologer came in, and his father, Panini's father, showed him his palm and said, "Okay, Swami, can you say how will my son be a literate one? And will he read and spell out clear?" So the astrologer looked at him and said that no, he doesn't seem to be having the line which corresponds to education. Panini was very depressed because his father wanted him to be a scholar. So he went inside. He was very close to his mother. So mother was there in the kitchen. He just said, Mother, I don't have any education line in my palm." The mother said, who said? Where is the education line? Then Panini said, "This one." The mother said, no, it's there. You don't worry. You're a small child. No, it will grow up. As you grow up, it will come up. But Panini was hurt. He took the knife, came out, asked the astrologer, "Where is the line?" "Precisely this one." And he just drew a line with the knife and said that, "Yes, look, the line has come." And Panini worked upon the Brahmi script. Sanskrit has been written in different scripts. Kharoshthi, then Brahmi. So if you see Ashokan inscription, it's in Brahmi. So after Ashoka, Panini was there. So he created out the Devanagari script. And this Devanagari script has one-to-one correspondences between the graphemes, that is the written forms, and the phonemes. The way you say it, the way you write it. So you don't have to have extra memory load. Very easy to process. So it is Panini, who probably had specific learning disabilities, who created out the script Devanagari, which is the basis of all the Indian languages except for Tamil. So you have the same arrangements. Very transparent. The only error would be ikar and ukar, which in Sanskrit are clear-cut length markers. In our language, in other languages which have evolved out later, we have lost out that. That's why this ikar and ukar errors would be there, because you have to remember this working memory load is there. Rest all you don't have to remember. That is the miracle of the script. Regarding the third question, whether it is good for computers, yes, it is good for computers, because the way you speak out, exactly the corresponding syllables can be identified. And once you identify out, it can be translated out. So it is very good for computers. Very important that all of us, being speech language pathologists, being being educators, it's important that we clearly know about the strengths which our script has, the challenges which English has, and select out the right kind of a language, especially while teaching out children, because the more energy they put into processing a language, the lesser energy would be available for understanding the concept. That's the demand and capacity model. Indian languages, being orthographically shallow, are easier to process, are error-free in nature, as compared to English, which is known to be a orthographically opaque language and requires much more time and effort to be processed out. It's a known fact. All scientific evidences are available. Thank you.